welcome to the fourth episode of the Hindsight and Hot Takes podcast. I'm your host, Connor Gisclair. After a short break, award-winning sports writer Brogan Burns is back for this week's episode. Today, it's Tuesday, March 18th. It's March, and with March Maddness beginning Thursday, it's time to get your brackets filled out. That's exactly what we're going to do in today's episode. It's time for 2020 Vision.
2020 vision, seeing all the angles, fight for the moment, grasp it like tangles. No time to falter, gotta keep pacing. Eyes straight ahead, heart racing.
So first, in the round of 64, we're going to go through the Southern bracket. First game up, Auburn versus...
Whoever wins at I believe Alcorn State in San Francisco, Pennsylvania. I think Francis, Pennsylvania, I should say.
I think this one's pretty simple. Auburn ran through the SEC. Didn't do as well in the SEC tournament as they would have wanted. Kind of ended the season on a, low note, but I really think that's an easy call there. I'm going with Auburn. Brogan?
Oh, yeah, Auburn should get through this round easy, but going further into the tournament, it's going to start to get rough.
I agree with that.
Maybe even in the second round.
Okay, so Auburn in the first game. Second game, Louisville, Creighton, 8 versus 9 seed. This is going to be a close one, Brogan. What do you think?
It'll absolutely be a close one. I think Creighton finished the tournament very well. Won against DePaul. What happened to beat double overtime, which you don't want to see that, but then they come back, beat Connecticut by almost 10 points. And their only loss in the tournament is in the championship to, St. John's, the best team.
Good old St. John's.
One of the best teams to ever come out of the conference, honestly.
I agree.
And then pull up Louisville stats.
Louisville, point guard Terrence Edwards having a really good season, averaging 16.5 points per game. Also, Checky Hepburn, another guard on that team, also averaging 16 points a game. Honestly, Louisville against very good talent. They haven't done great this year, losing to Tennessee, Duke, and Kentucky. But really, I think none of those three teams are Creighton. In my opinion, I got Creighton, Ryan Kalkbrenner. I mean, the dude's been there, done that. Averaging a solid 19 points per game, 8 rebounds, almost 2 assists per game. I got Creighton in this one.
I mean, you look at those guys, but the real guy you got to look at is Rain Smith, the Australian.
Oh, an Aussie.
He might not be going up there playing rough, getting those rebounds, getting assists all the time, but he's the best shooter I think I've seen this year. No one can outshoot him, so if they have a chance at winning, they do have a chance at winning, but it's going to go up through him, obviously. He has a 38.3% field goal shooting percentage, so it's hard to go up against that guy because he shoots from anywhere.
So, Louisville-Creighton, we got Creighton. Next matchup, a team that's been on upset watch throughout this whole tournament, Michigan versus UC San Diego. Brogan, how do you think that game's going to go?
I don't think you can count against Michigan in this game. Coming off I'm pretty sure they won the Big Ten tournament just last week. 3 games in a row. I mean, they lost 3 games in a row before that.
Which, to their thing, losing to Michigan State twice, a really good team on its own.
But you beat Maryland, you beat Purdue, you beat
Wisconsin
in
the championship.
And you don't lose a single game in the tournament. I don't think you can beat that. I know UC San Diego is on one of the longest running winning streaks in the country at 19, but they're not playing nearly that high of a competition as Michigan in the Big Ten.
Michigan has a bunch of good players on that team. Obviously, I think that team pretty much runs through their big men. I think that those two guys are just going to prove havoc to UC San Diego. Let me make sure I'm saying this dude right. Vladislav Golden and Danny Wolf, both averaging in double digits for this team. Danny Wolf averaging almost 10 rebounds a game against a UC San Diego team that hasn't seen big men like this all year. I think it's pretty easy. I got Michigan. Next, another team that's been on upset watch, Texas A&M taking on Yale. Brogan, what do you think?
I mean, you look at Texas A&M the past few weeks, they really haven't done anything impressive. I mean, they beat Auburn, they beat LSU, but who was LSU? And
Yeah, exactly.
Auburn's been struggling lately, so...
Going into the tournament, they lost. We're on a 4-game losing streak, losing to Alabama,
Exactly.
Kentucky, Tennessee, and Florida. So, been quite a tough stretch for Texas A&M. Going against Yale was a very hot team towards the end of the season. Won the Ivy League.
Yeah, but you look at Yale, what impressive thing have they done? They're
Shooting.
22-7.
Shooting.
What impressive wins do they have? They're 22-7. Texas A&M is 22-10 in a much harder conference.
Agreed. You could say really throughout the year, their only impressive game or kind of high par team that they played was Purdue, and they ended up losing that game 92-84. I think this is a pretty easy one in my book. I got Texas A&M.
And you look at it, they lost to Delaware, they lost to Rhode Island, they even lost to UTEP. What does that say about your program when you're losing to teams that aren't even good?
Exactly. And you're not beating the Aggies of Texas A&M.
No chance.
Okay, next matchup. One of my favorite teams, of course. Ole Miss versus the winner of North Carolina and San Diego State. Obviously, North Carolina, very controversial team to even make it in. I do think they beat San Diego State, but obviously, the power of the SEC this year, I got Ole Miss in this game. Brogan, what do you think?
I think Ole Miss drops the ball in this game. You're going against two teams with tons of NCAA tournament experience. And what does Ole Miss have? About nothing to their name in basketball history-wise. So maybe they give it a chance, but I don't think they win this year. I'd say if they get back again and start going more, they're going to get that win. But you're playing San Diego State or UNC, two great teams. It's just not going to work because even you look at the Mountain West, huge, amazing division this year.
Agreed.
You got, I think, what should be 5 teams out of it, but you only got 4 this year. But it's another story, but great conference, and then ACC speaks for itself.
I don't know. North Carolina looks shaky all year. I don't trust them. And San Diego State, I'm telling you, I think they're going to see that SEC defense/offense, and they're going to be overmatched. So I have Ole Miss.
That's not what San Diego State is about, man. That's a good team. Watch out.
We'll see what happens. All right, next round, Iowa State versus Lipscomb. Lipscomb, one of those sneaky teams that always end up being in the tournament. Every couple of years, they knock off 4 to 5 seed, but this year, going against 3 seed Iowa State. Brogan, what do you think?
Iowa State's got the win here. I can't even give Lipscomb a chance in this game, I don't think.
I mean, Iowa State has close games during the year with Auburn, losing 83-81, beating Marquette, beating Kansas, beating Arizona again. I mean, this team's had tough competition, and they've shown out. Obviously, Curtis Jones, that dude's going to be a stud, I think, at the next level, averaging 17 points a game. I think this is a very easy win for Iowa State.
Kind of stumbled till the end there, but, Iowa State, they started the season off on a 12-game win streak and then had another 4-game win streak towards the end. You can't bet against that.
All right. Next game. I think this is going to be an interesting one. Marquette, New Mexico. Two teams that, mid-major teams, that they always seem to be in it to win it in March. Brogan, who do you got?
Got New Mexico State, like I was saying earlier.
The Lobos.
New Mexico, not State, sorry. Like I was saying earlier, that's a really strong conference right there. You got San Diego State, New Mexico, you got Boise State, who I think should be in it, and then Colorado State is in it too. So
Got some. They have some very impressive wins this year. beating UCLA. VCU, another team that we'll talk about later. And, I mean, that team has some dogs.
And then you got Marquette. Obviously, tough conference. But they have no notable wins outside of Purdue, who I already don't think is a good team.
Also,
So I can't see them winning.
Also losing to probably the next best team in their division, St. John's, 3 times in a row. I mean...
Lose to UConn twice, too. Creighton.
Exactly.
And the team we were just talking about, Iowa State.
And then you have New Mexico guard Donovan Dent, averaging 20 points a game. I think he's going to go off. I think this is going to be a pretty easy win for New Mexico.
Got to look out for their defense in this game. I don't think it's going to be offense that gets them through.
All right. Next game on tap, Michigan State versus Bryant. Brogan, who you got?
I'm not going to say anything about Bryant. We're just going Michigan State.
I think Tom Izzo's been there, done that.
Bryant, good team for where they are, but Michigan State is another level.
I think that's a pretty simple one. Michigan State.
You don't even have to take a guess at that.
Right. Now moving to the round of 32. Auburn, Creighton. That's going to be a close one.
I think it's really close. I think this is where Auburn has to show that they deserve the number 1 seed, or they're going to lose in this round or the next. So it's really going to come down to just execution from either side.
I agree with that. Like we said before, obviously both teams have the star power, have proved throughout the year that they are very good teams. It's going to be a clash of the Titans. Again, I got to stick with Auburn, though.
I think it's going to be a good matchup in the paint right here. You got Kalkbrenner and for Creighton averaging 8.8 rebounds per game with almost 20 points
nasty.
per game.
Yes.
And then Broom for the Tigers, 10.6 rebounds per game and almost 20 points per game as well.
Exactly.
It'll come down to being under the rim in this game.
I think it's, again, going to be a close game, but I got Auburn.
Yeah, I could go with Auburn, but I'm not surprised if Creighton wins this
Agreed.
game.
Okay. Next game, 5 seed versus 4 seed, Michigan, Texas A&M. 2 teams that were on upset watch that we're picking. Who do you think got this game, Brogan?
I think Michigan is the better team, the team that can get hot. Texas A&M, you see, they struggled at the end of the year. They couldn't get hot. They lost to Texas at the end of the year. What does that say about you?
Not great going into the...
And then you win the Big Ten as Michigan, the second or third best conference in all of college basketball.
Yes.
I don't think they lose that game. I think they continue their winning ways, and they take that win streak to 5 games right there.
I agree. Obviously, I think their big men they're gonna play this game. They're gonna overpower Texas A&M. Michigan moving into the Sweet 16. Next game, Ole Miss, Iowa State. 2 teams we were kind of shaky on. Ole Miss we were shaky on. Iowa State, I think they pick up 2 easy wins here.
Well, I picked San Diego State, UNC to make it, and I think I'm going with the winner out of that game in this one. Those are 2 teams with championship caliber resumes in the past. They can win games. I think they can win the second game right here after playing, third game technically.
So right here, I got Iowa State in an easy one. And who do you have out of UNC and San Diego State?
I want to go San Diego State in that one.
Okay. And you have them beating Ole Miss.
And
right?
Iowa State.
Okay. All right, next game on tap, New Mexico, Michigan State. This is gonna be one of those sneaky good games that come down to, I think, the final 2 minutes, really. But Donovan Dent, man, I've seen that dude play throughout the year. He's nasty. I think in this game, he's gonna go off. I really agree with that.
I think in this game, yeah. I think New Mexico State puts up a great defensive effort, but Michigan State is just going to outlast a team like that. I mean, They beat Michigan twice. You know,
Agreed.
they were storming through the Big Ten. Just couldn't win the conference tournament. But other than that, they're one of the best teams in the country.
I like Michigan
getting
State.
out
I
of it.
just think their 3-point shooting percentage, barely 30% this year. I think that's going to hurt them right here. I got New Mexico taking this one.
Okay. You're going to take the lower seed for once.
Yes.
I'm going higher.
All right. Now moving to the Sweet 16. Auburn, Michigan. This is going to be a battle. Brogan, who you got first off?
Michigan. Go
Michigan.
Straight off the bat with Michigan.
So you think winning their conference, they just ride that momentum?
Absolutely. And I think Auburn keeps carrying a little bit of the bad juju they had at the end of the year in the SEC.
Right here, I can't pick against the SEC right here. I have to go personally Auburn.
Can't put too much pressure on the SEC in this tournament.
I mean, the SEC had that many teams get into the tournament for a reason. Every SEC team in this tournament is
They
going to
looked
be
at
really
it
good.
because they were playing each other.
They
they
just
didn't
were
go
beating
against
up.
each other.
They were beating up on each other,
And
and
you know that's going to hurt.
we'll see what happens here. But I got Auburn. Next game on tap. I love New Mexico, but against Iowa State, I think they eventually fall. I got Iowa State winning in pretty easy fashion against New Mexico. I think that New Mexico run fizzles out in the Sweet 16.
I got two completely different teams in this the semifinal for the region. I got San Diego State up against Michigan State. I think once again, Michigan State is actually switch that up. San Diego State's going to outlast that team with their defensive performance.
Really?
I think they see what New Mexico did to them, and they kind of work on that a little after their game. Because they're such similar teams, and they've played each other twice this season. So San Diego State knows New Mexico. They know what works against them, what doesn't. And by extension, they'll see what works against Michigan State and what doesn't. So I'm going to take San Diego State.
Okay, so final two teams from the South bracket. Very different. Right here, I have Auburn taking it. I think the 1 seed goes all the way. I think playing in the SEC helps them. They just overpower Iowa State, and they move on to the finals. Brogan?
And I think Michigan makes a return to the Final Four this year.
Michigan.
Michigan's back.
So you're playing the hot hand right here.
The win over San Diego State. And I think the Big Ten tournament champion is going to be the South Regional tournament champion.
All right. Well, that's all we have for the Southern bracket. Next, we'll move to the Eastern bracket. All right, next, we'll move to the Eastern side of the bracket. First game, probably the overwhelming favorites to win the tournament, Duke versus the winner of the play-in tournament.
American University and Mount St. Mary's.
Yeah. No matter who wins here, I got Duke easily.
Yeah, you can't bet against Duke against what I'll say are some randos.
I think you have Cooper Flag playing. Honestly, even if you don't have him, I'd rest him for this game personally. I mean, this is going to be one of those games where Duke just sweeps the floor, wins by 20 plus. All right, next game, a little bit closer. 8 seed Mississippi State versus 9 seed Baylor. Personally, I got Mississippi State winning this game. I think, again, that SEC level just proves to be too much for the Baylor Bears. Josh Hubbard having a really good season, averaging 19 points per game. And, Mississippi State actually has a couple of impressive wins. Picking up wins against Texas A&M in the tournament. And then on the other side, Baylor. The only SEC team they played this year was Tennessee. They got killed. So I think this is going to be an easy one for Mississippi State. Brogan, what you think?
I think Mississippi State is great unless they have to play Missouri. I think that's, if they end up ever playing Missouri in the tournament, it's going to be a rude awakening for that team. But Baylor just can't seem to put a win streak together. They coasted through the end of that season. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. They never really put it together and kept it together, so...
And they really have no notable wins on the season.
I think chemistry is an issue and other stuff, so... It's got to be Mississippi State.
Right. Next game on tap, Oregon, Liberty. Obviously, I'm a little biased here. Big Oregon fan. Liberty, I personally don't know much about their basketball program. I got Oregon here pretty handedly.
What you don't know about Liberty? Well, yeah, how can I go against Oregon in this one? But, you look at Liberty, they got some decent wins. Charleston, Kansas State, McNeese, Middle Tennessee, Louisiana Tech, two good teams in that conference.
And then you look at Oregon beating Alabama, Maryland, Wisconsin, all very highly rated teams. I know they didn't do as well as they wanted in the conference championship, but I think this is going to be an easy one for Oregon.
I don't think Oregon has any notable wins, per se.
So Alabama,
at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
November 30th.
Maryland, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, I don't think they're going to do too well. Okay. Maryland, I'll give it to them. That's a good win.
But no matter what, they're not playing Maryland or Wisconsin. They're playing Liberty. I got Oregon, an easy one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Oregon, despite my disappointment, or whatever you want to distrust.
Next game, Arizona, Akron. I had my first upset of this side of the bracket. I got Akron coming out on top in a close one. Yeah. Obviously, that team, very good shooting team. I think that's going to be a key factor in them going far in this tournament.
I don't think you bet against Arizona, one of the greatest teams in college basketball history.
I really think, Arizona, they don't have too many key wins this year. I think that's going to hurt them. I don't think this is the Arizona of old that we're used to. I think the Zips, they're going to take this one close, but they're going to take this one due to their shooting proficiency.
You say Arizona doesn't have any good wins, but they beat Iowa State. They beat Texas Tech. They lost a pretty close game to Houston, who was a 1 seed, as we know. I can't pick against the Wildcats today.
So you think it's a close game?
I don't know that it's a close game.
Really?
Akron lost to 2 tournament teams. You lose to Yale? Come on. Yale's not a good team.
But
then you lose to St. Mary's, good team, but 20 points. Second of you for you.
Akron is going to go on a shooting frenzy and take this game.
Don't see that happening.
All right. I agree. I guess. We'll see. Next, BYU, VCU. Man, I got another upset here, to be honest. I got VCU coming out on top against BYU.
This is a game I'm very excited for.
I agree. This is definitely going to be one to tune into.
This is going to be a fun game. A VCU team, obviously one of the greatest mid-majors.
Yes.
To walk out on a court. And then BYU, who finally got into a conference. And big wins. Baylor, Kansas, Arizona, Iowa State twice. You lose to Houston by 20 points, but VCU's not Houston. You're not going to have the same challenges against VCU. I think this BYU team it's been magical for them all season, so I think that continues in this game.
So you have BYU picking up the victory?
Yep.
I just think, again, that March Madness magic, I think that happens a lot in this East Division. I'm going with VCU. Right? Next game, Wisconsin, Montana, the Grizzlies. Again, I have an upset, big upset. I have Montana over the 3 seed Wisconsin. Again, throughout the year, they're just Montana seems to find a way to just shoot great. And I think in a game like this, if you just have the right guys just making everything, putting down shots, you'll find success. Brogan?
You know what? I originally had an upset in this game, but I don't think Montana State possesses, or Montana, sorry, I hope those fans don't get mad at me. I know that's a huge rivalry out there, Montana,
Yes.
Montana
Don't
State.
get them wrong.
But no, I got Wisconsin right here. Wisco with the win.
Dang, we're very opposite on this side of the bracket. Right? Next game, St. Mary's, Vanderbilt. Once again, I'm taking the lower seed. Vanderbilt coming out on top. Again, you could say it's SEC bias. I just say Vanderbilt's the better team. I got Vandy. In a close one.
I think these are two teams that didn't expect to be where they were. Vanderbilt definitely didn't expect to be in the tournament heading in. And St. Mary's, a much higher seed than they would have thought. But I think both of these teams are just excited to be here. I think this is going to be an all-out Donnybrook of a game. I love that word. But I think St. Mary's takes the win. They just have been good all year. There's been no questions about them, other than one loss to Gonzaga at the end of the year. But that was in the tournament, and they beat them twice before. Then they beat Utah, USC. Nebraska's not great, but they beat them too. It's a little shaky right there, but I think St. Mary's is the better team.
I will give it to St. Mary's. They have two very good players. Augustus, make sure I say this name correctly, Markulionis, scoring 14 points per game, 6 assists. And then Paluis Morauskas, scoring 13 points per game, 8 rebounds. I think those guys are going to be big for them in this game. But again, SEC team on top. I got Vandy. Right? Next game, Alabama, Robert Morris. I don't think this is close. Alabama, fast-paced team. Robert Morris, have never seen a team like this. I think this is very easily going to Bama. As much as it hurts to say.
I gotta shout out Robert Morris on a great season, but I don't see them competing with Alabama.
You got Alabama taking it easy?
Yeah, Alabama sweep into a win. Just rolling into a win.
Blitz, Bama, blitz, baby. All right, now moving to the round of 32. First matchup on my bracket. Duke and Mississippi State. Again, I think Cooper Fly is going to return this game. Duke's going to be too much.
No,
I got Duke.
I don't think Duke brings Cooper Flag back for this game, but I don't see how Mississippi State can beat them. They just aren't that talented. Mississippi State is just not up to Duke's level. They're not even up to, let's say, Alabama's level. Who else? Tennessee. They're not even a Tennessee.
No. They're just a very good SEC team, or mediocre SEC team, good team in the grand scheme of things, but they're not Duke.
Not Kentucky either. You know.
No. Right. Next game on my bracket, number 5 Oregon versus the Akron Zips. Again, you might say it's a little bit of biased here, but I got Oregon in an easy one. Moving on. Brogan?
I think you got I got the Wildcats versus the Ducks right here, and I got the Wildcats moving on.
Over Oregon? Really?
I don't think Oregon's as good as people think they are.
They're going to show out, I'm telling you. All right, next game on my bracket. A battle of the upsets. VCU, Montana. Again, it's close when you have these two mid-major teams that just shoot outstanding and just find ways to win. But I got VCU in a close one. I think this is going to be a last-second buzzer-beater game. I got VCU beating Montana.
You know what? It's the magic of the Mormons right here for me. BYU, great team. Cougars will destroy the Badgers. No, I'm kidding. Not destroy, but it's going to be... I'll give BYU an 8. 6-8 point cushion right here in this game over Wisconsin.
All right. Final game, round of 32. Vanderbilt, Alabama. Two SEC teams. Two teams that played really good all year. But again, that Bama, whatever they have, that extra juice, whatever it is, I got Bama getting past Vandy.
I got St. Mary's in Alabama. Love to see St. Mary's. I think that's a team I always want to see win in this tournament. But you're playing Alabama, who I think is the best offensive team in the country right now. And they play fast. They play faster than fast. They make fast people not look. They make fast teams not look fast.
Exactly.
So I got Alabama moving on to the Sweet 16, Sweet 16.
Okay. Sweet 16 for me. Duke, Oregon. I think this is when that Duck magic runs out. Cooper Flagg, if he doesn't play in the first two rounds, he's going to be here for this game, and he's going to show out. Duke, I'm not going to say it's going to be a close game, but I got Duke from 8 to 10 range. I got Duke. Brogan?
And for me, Duke versus Arizona, I got Duke over Arizona handily. But if Cooper Flagg's not back, that's a toss-up, I think.
I agree. But I think Cooper Flagg will be back, and he's going to show out for this game.
I think Arizona can win without Flagg. But that remains to be seen at the end of this tournament.
So if Cooper Flagg does play, which it's looking like now,
Duke, 100%.
Okay. And then, for my next one, VCU, Alabama. I had VCU making a run here, but again, that Alabama speed, like we said, faster than fast, play style, it's too much for VCU. Alabama to the finals.
Fast teams not look fast. I got Alabama over BYU. That Mormon Magic's going to run out in the Sweet 16.
Okay, final round, Duke, Bama, 1 seed versus 2 seed. Had a bunch of upsets, but I think at the end, the 1 seed versus the 2 seed make it. Again, Cooper Flagg, the X factor. I got Duke. In a close game, but I have Duke.
Yeah, I think it's hard to go against Duke in this Duke-Alabama game. I think, especially after what happened to Alabama last year, I'm not going to trust them in a tournament right now. I trust Duke. They've been there. They've won it. They have a new coach now, but come on, they're the 1 seed.
It's Duke. So you have Duke. So actually, we both have Duke coming out of the Eastern bracket.
Yeah.
Moving on to the finals. Now, moving on to the west side of the bracket. First game, I think, Brogan, this is going to be an easy selection for both of us. Florida, Norfolk State. I mean, I'm not picking a one seed to get upset by 16 seed. I have Florida. Brogan, what do you think?
I think right here, if any team had the chance to upseed a number 1 seed, I think it would be Norfolk State. Obviously a contender in their conference every year. They're always up there, but Florida is, I think, unbeatable right now.
I think arguably the hottest team as of late, considering they won the SEC. I don't see them losing right here.
No, I don't see Norfolk State coming close in this one.
Okay, so next game, UConn, Oklahoma. Another close matchup. Two-time back-to-back champion. Kind of been written off this year. UConn. I got the Huskies here because I don't think Dan Hurley goes out first round. Brogan, what do you think?
I think the UConn has some pretty good wins early in the season. The only 2 big losses they had were to St. John's in their conference. Other than that, they beat Marquette twice. They beat Creighton. They beat Gonzaga, Texas, Baylor. That's more than you can say for OU, who only beat Arizona as their big win and stumbled entirely against all the big teams in the SEC.
They were hit by a brick wall this season going against SEC talent.
Yeah, and they didn't really succeed. Even though they ended up with a 9 seed, I don't think they succeeded this season. So I'm going UConn.
Okay. Next game, another game that's been a team that's on upset watch. Penny Hardaway and Memphis Tigers against Colorado State. right here, again, I really don't think Memphis gets upset. I got Memphis in this one. Close game, but I have Memphis.
You look at Memphis, they had some pretty big early season wins. Michigan State, Clemson, Ole Miss. But then I think you look at Colorado State, they really blew through their conference at the end of the year. And those Memphis wins came early in the season, before conference play, in December and November. These big Colorado State wins were in March, February.
And I'd say, that's a Ole Miss early in the season for sure, but losing 84-69 to Ole Miss, that's a bad loss. Another team that made it in, San Diego State, we saw what happened to them. Another bad loss, so.
San Diego State didn't win the conference, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Colorado State did.
But they lost to Colorado. They lost to San Diego State early in the season. So I think Memphis, pretty simple. Pretty easy win.
Colorado.
You got Colorado?
Colorado State.
Dang. Okay. Right. Next game, the 4 seed Maryland against GCU, a team that always seems to sneak into the madness of March. Right here, I got Maryland. Brogan?
I do see Maryland winning this game, but I think Grand Canyon gives them a run for their money here. We've seen Grand Canyon go on a run. And the thing about Grand Canyon is they throw a bunch of money at that team. And when you buy a team, sometimes it's going to work. But Maryland's too good this year. I don't see it happening.
And no offense to Grand Canyon, their resume is not filled out, give or take. Maryland has some key wins. Wisconsin, Illinois twice, and Ohio State. I think this is going to be an easy win for Maryland.
I think there's a chance at the upset for sure, but not happening.
All right. Next game, an SEC team, Missouri. Some say they're ranked too high as a 6th seed against Drake, the 11th seed. Brogan, what you think?
I can definitely see Drake competing, obviously. They have a pretty good resume for where they come out of. Let me pull it up.
Good wins against Vanderbilt, Miami.
Get Vanderbilt, Kansas. Don't talk about Miami. Miami's awful team.
We know that.
But Vanderbilt, Kansas State, not bad wins. But I think if you've seen what Missouri can do on offense, you'd probably pick Missouri. I think Missouri's going to absolutely trash Drake right here. I don't think Drake has a chance in this game.
I agree with that. Guard Mark Mitchell has been having a great year. Caleb Grill, the big man on that team, I think they're going to sweep the floor with Drake. I don't understand the hype behind Drake. We'll see what happens, but I have Missouri in a blowout. Right, next, an injury-rattled Texas Tech team going against UNC Wilmington. Again, here, this bracket, I don't see a lot of upsets happening. I got Texas Tech winning handedly. Name to look out for this tournament, JT Toppin, averaging 18 points, 9 rebounds, and an assist a game. He's a player to be on the lookout this March Madness season. Brogan?
I'm taking my biggest upset of the tournament right here.
Right here.
I don't think Texas Tech has played particularly well in the end of the season. And then lost to Arizona, Houston, obviously. Barely beat Kansas, who was really a pretty bad team this year if we're going all out. But I think Wilmington has always been a great team. They've been on the verge of making a big splash, and I think this is the year they do it.
If you look at their season, a bunch of quality wins. Not against, super major teams. They obviously, early in the year, lost to Kansas pretty bad, but as of late, they've been very hot. So
he beat Charleston 3 times. That was a team that was a 12 seed last year. Don't forget that. And then Florida Gulf Coast, always a solid team. I think you're winning against quality opponents no matter what level they're at right there.
Do you think the injuries that Texas Tech is dealing with right now that ultimately hurts them?
I think Texas Tech lacks a domination factor that'll every 3 seed should have. So I think they might even be too high right here. I could see them falling into that trap against I think they're the Seahawks.
Okay. So, Brogan's biggest upset so far in the tournament. Next game, man, any other year this would be probably you would expect this game in the Sweet 16, but first round, Kansas, Arkansas. I expect a close game here, but I'm not picking against Arkansas and Coach K. No way I could pick against him first round. I know there's the things that he can't win in the first round, but right here, I got Arkansas over Kansas.
Yeah, I think Kansas brings a certain prowess, certain history to this tournament. Obviously, they win, and they win often. Arkansas, very good SEC team. I think this is going to be a very close game. I could see Kansas winning. I could see Arkansas winning. But I think at the end of the day, Coach K has Arkansas ready to beat a Kansas team that has struggled this entire season.
And I know going into the tournament, both of these teams have kind of struggled, especially Arkansas. But again, in this multitude of game, I'm not picking against Coach K. So I got Arkansas in a close one. I got Arkansas coming out on top. Right? Next game on tap, St. John's, the 2 seed versus 15-seeded Omaha. Again, I'm not expecting an upset here. I'm expecting a pretty clean sweep for St. John's. I think they win big.
I think the record for Omaha, 22-12, doesn't really speak to how good they are. I do think they're the best 15 seed in this tournament, and I think they could have gotten up to a 13 or 12 seed, but they didn't play up to the level they know they could have. But saying that, how are you going to beat St. John's? I don't think there's any way to beat that team. They're too good.
St. John's has 2 quality wins against UConn and Creighton. I mean, this team's rolling. Maybe the hottest team in the country right now. I know Patino out there, he's been rocking his white suits. That's been hyping that team up. We'll see what happens, but I got St. John's rolling through this game.
It's the beautiful thing about college basketball. Because what other sport are you going to see St. John's ranked in, realistically?
Exactly. This is their sport, and they'll show while they're a number 2 seed.
New York is a basketball city.
Right. Next game, moving on to the round of 32. Florida, UConn. Man, it's hard to pick against the 2-time defending champion, but right here, I believe their run ends to one of probably the most well-rounded team in the country, Florida. I got Florida coming out on top in a close one.
I think UConn obviously has a chance in this game.
Yes.
They have to rely on what they've done the last 2 years. Can you make a run? Hurley, is he that guy? Is he that guy that's going to shock the world and win this game? I'm not sure about that.
He has the past 2 years.
He could do that. Absolutely could, but Florida, one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen a team have, especially after not being anywhere near this good last year.
Yes. And I just think the role they're on, I don't imagine this team being able to stop them. Even though they're the 2-time reigning champions, I got UConn going down. Right? Next game for me, for my bracket, Memphis, Maryland. I don't want to pick against Penny Hardaway, but right here I think his season comes to an end. I have Maryland coming on top in a close one against Memphis. Brogan?
I actually have Colorado State beating Maryland this game.
Colorado State beat... Man, you really like the Rams.
This is my upset team this year.
Okay.
I gotta say, I love the Rams. I think they're a better team. All through and through. Great defense, too. I think that's what's going to propel them to this win. I mean, you look at Maryland, they don't have a crazy offense. They have a pretty good defense, but I think that offense is going to let them down against Colorado State.
And you think Colorado State moves on to the Sweet 16?
I do believe so.
Going to be interesting to see. Right? Next game, I think also here we have 2 different teams. I have Missouri coming out on top against Texas Tech. Again, as Brogan was talking about earlier, Texas Tech injury rattled. Really, probably not deserving of the 3 seed. I think Missouri, again, the people talking bad about them finally gets to them. They come out on top against Texas Tech. Moving on to the Sweet 16.
I think, obviously my upset in this bracket, number 14, UNC Wilmington, the mighty, mighty Seahawks, but I think Missouri steamrolls another team right here.
So you have also Missouri moving on to the Sweet 16.
Missouri in the Sweet 16.
All right. Man, next game on tap for me. Probably two of the best coaches. Not probably. Two of the best. Probably top 5 coaches ever to coach the game. Pitino, Coach K, St. John's, Arkansas. Right here, again, I'm not picking against St. John's. I think they win this game. They come out on top pretty easily. I got St. John's moving on.
Mafia Dawn right here. Rick Pitino moves them on to the next round.
Close game, you think?
No.
I think it's going to take a lot to stop
I don't think
St.
it's close
John's.
at all.
Right? Now moving on to the Sweet 16. My bracket, Florida, Maryland. I'm not picking against an SEC team in this level. I think, like I said earlier, Florida's the most well-rounded team. I got Florida.
Florida, yeah, over Colorado State.
They'll
overwhelm them.
The Rams season comes to an end.
You can't stop the Gator Trump right here.
And
I hate Florida, but great team this season.
Great team. Right. Next Sweet 16 matchup. I think we both had these two teams. Missouri, St. John's.
Yep.
Like I said earlier, I think Missouri, realistically, they had 2 easy games going into this. They beat a 3 seed, but I really don't think Texas Tech is deserving of that 3 seed. But, again, Rick Pitino, the Mafia boss. You're not beating St. John's right here. I got St. John's moving on to take on Florida. Brogan?
I don't think the Missouri deep offense is going to do much against St. John's. I think St. John's completely shuts them down. They might not score as much as they'd like to, but that defense is going to shut Missouri down 100%.
Right. Now moving on to our final. Both had the same team, Florida, St. John's. I'll let you go first, Brogan.
I'm going to let you go first. I'm still mulling this one over. I want you to convince me.
I think going into it, this will be one of the best games in the entire tournament. Like I said earlier, I'm going with the SEC right here. The Florida Gators. Think they're the best all-around team, like I said earlier. Think that Pitino magic is going to end right here. I got Florida in a close one.
I wanted to let you convince me, but nope. I'm sticking with St. John's here.
I think, personally, Walter Clayton of Florida, I watched that dude play a lot this year. 17 points per game. I think he's a person to look out for in this game. I know R.J. Lewis of St. John's also had an amazing year, but Walter Clayton, man, in the SEC tournament, that dude looks special. I got Florida coming out on top.
I think Rick Pitino's gonna finish off that bottle of Jameson after this game.
I think anyone watching this game will finish off that bottle of Jameson because I think it goes down to a buzzer beater. But I got Florida coming out on top.
All right, St. John's. Red Storm.
That's all we have for the West. Next, we'll move on to the Midwest.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to the Midwest, we have Houston taking on Southern Illinois of Evansville, you said, Brogan? Of Evansville. Again, not picking against a 1 seed. Houston wins this game very easy.
Houston, it's a great team, right? I just love watching Houston. I got a special place in my heart for Houston. Houston moves on in a big way.
Right? Next game, Battle of the Bulldogs, Gonzaga, Georgia. Remember how I said I had SEC biased earlier? That is done right here.
Wins
Gonzaga wins.
Badly.
I'm hopping on the Gonzaga train. I don't care what people say. I love Gonzaga this year. I love Gonzaga in this game. They're moving on.
Anthony Edwards is not there anymore, and he couldn't help him even when he was there.
So now without him, they're not
What are
winning.
they going to do?
I got Gonzaga moving on.
Fans are just going to bark?
Next game, one that is very special to both of us. Clemson, McNeese, Will Wade taking on his alma mater. McNeese, probably the team that has the most aura in all of college basketball. That student manager is special. Signed NIL deals. They're coming in rolling hot. Clemson, very good team in their own. Again, this is the bias in me. I'm picking McNeese and Will Wade to move on.
And there's a lot of bias in me, too, as well. There comes that pride factor with McNeese winning. Nichols beat them this year. We're Nichols students.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other part is, we get money if McNeese State wins. So I'm going to go with McNeese State.
I want McNeese to go very far in this
All
tournament.
the way. But also, Clemson has no experience at this level.
Exactly.
McNeese has a little bit. I think that may be able to carry them through.
Right. Next game, I have maybe one of my biggest upsets in the tournament so far. High Point over Purdue. Zach Edey is not there anymore, and that's going to hurt. High Point, shoot the ball very well from the three-point line, one of the best in the country. Also Purdue, they've been probably one of the coldest teams going into this tournament, losing their last 4. I have High Point coming out on top in this one.
Yeah, I think Purdue was one of the most fraudulent teams I've seen in an NCAA tournament. I don't even see how they have a chance at this one.
Especially as a 4 seed. I don't know how they got there, but I got High Point
I'm
coming out
strongly
on
against Purdue this year. I don't think they're good at all.
top. Okay? Dang, that was harsh. Next game, Illinois versus the winner of Texas, Xavier. I think whoever wins out of Texas and Xavier beats Illinois. I think it's going to be Xavier. I really like Xavier this year. I got Xavier coming out on top pretty soundly against Illinois. Brogan?
I think Texas has no chance of winning against Illinois. I think it'll be a 50-50 game if Xavier wins. But I still have Illinois coming out on top.
Close game?
Yeah, close game. I'll give a close game to the Musketeers.
Okay. Next game, moving on. Kentucky Wildcats versus Troy. That SEC bias is coming back, unfortunately. I got Kentucky coming out on top very easily in this first round matchup.
I think Troy is absolutely one of the great stories of this tournament. I think it's their first time in the tournament in a very long time. They don't have the prowess to compete with Kentucky, but I think they're going to have some fun out there. Maybe not lose by 20, maybe keep it to 15.
Give or
But I
take,
think
yes.
Kentucky comes out on top. handily.
Kentucky, too many big wins this season. Special season going in. I think they go far, but I definitely have them coming out over Troy. Next game, kind of two teams have not gotten a lot of media attention. UCLA, Utah State. Right here, I'm taking the bigger school. I'm taking UCLA, the California school. I think they move on. Brogan?
I absolutely have a Mountain West bias in this tournament, but I want to see Utah State win, but UCLA is going to be too much in the end.
Okay. So, next game, Tennessee, Wofford. Again, I don't know why Tennessee all of a sudden is on upset watch, especially against Wofford. I got Tennessee pretty soundly beating Wofford.
Gotta be clear, it's Wofford.
Wofford. My fault. I don't
Just
want to
because it's the
offend
dog.
any.
I know it's a dog. It looks like a wolf, but it's a waff.
A waff.
Waff.
Okay.
Tennessee wins. I don't care about the waffs.
Okay, moving on to the round of 32. Houston, Gonzaga. Going to be one of the best matchups on tap in this entire tournament. Again, you could say bias. I got Gonzaga taking down the number 1 seed Houston. I'm in love with Gonzaga this year. I got them coming out, upsetting Houston.
Houston's going to do some very bad things to Gonzaga in this game.
Wow.
It's not going to be pretty. Houston Cougars. move on to the next round.
Okay. Next game, two teams that upset in the first round. McNeese, High Point. I liked High Point. I spoke very well of them, but I'm not picking against McNeese. In this situation, McNeese, Will Wade. Final season at McNeese. This is their Cinderella story to ride out. I got McNeese over High Point.
If High Point can shoot the three all game long, I'd go with them, but the three is not always there. You can't rely on a 3-point shot.
Very
McNeese
experienced.
can rely on their gameplay.
Very experienced McNeese team. I think defensively they're going to be prepared for whatever High Point throws at them. I have McNeese.
McNeese? Cowboys? Yeah.
Okay. Next game on tap, Kentucky versus I said Xavier. I'm not picking against Kentucky here. I got Kentucky moving on to the round of 16.
Nope, Kentucky beats Illinois easily, I think.
Right. Last matchup in the round of 32. UCLA, Tennessee. I'm not picking against Tennessee. Like I said, they're probably my favorite team in this side of the bracket. I'm going with Tennessee.
I think Tennessee's just a brilliant team. Their coach, brilliant. They can play however they need to play to win. And I think it doesn't matter what UCLA throws at them at all in this game. They're coming out on top. The Volunteers are rolling through to the Sweet 16. Baby.
All right. Now moving on. Man, this might be the hardest game I have to choose of the day. McNeese, Gonzaga. Love McNeese. But just like last year, they're falling to the Gonzaga Bulldogs. I got Gonzaga winning. Unfortunately, pretty soundly. Will Wade season comes to an end. I got Gonzaga.
And over here, I have Houston beating the brakes off of the Cowboys.
Okay, now moving to the bottom of the bracket. Kentucky, Tennessee might be one of the closest games of this bracket. Two very even teams. It's going to be tough. I was going back and forth all day before the show, but I got Tennessee. I'm rolling with Tennessee right here.
Kentucky has been a team all season that has been really close to completely beating the game of basketball, I'll say that. And I think they'll finally get it done here against Tennessee. I think this is their moment to shine, and I think they beat the Volunteers. Close game.
So you have Kentucky coming out.
Probably 2 3-point game, but I'll take Kentucky.
Okay. Final game. We have both different teams in. I have Gonzaga, Tennessee. Love Gonzaga, but that SEC bias is coming back. I got Tennessee. Moving on. Brogan?
And over here, I will take Kentucky over Houston. I'll put an SEC team in there too with you.
So we both think SEC teams move on. Right?
Yeah.
That's all we have for the Midwest bracket. Next, the Final Four, baby. Okay, we finally got to that point. Final Four, San Antonio, Texas, Alamo Dome, April 5th. We'll start.
Remember the Alamo.
Start on?
Remember the Alamo
Remember
first.
the Alamo.
We gotta remember.
I say first we start on the East and Midwest side. My two teams, Duke, Tennessee. This game. No matter, I really think this is a 50-50. But Cooper Fags, hopefully going to play this game. I think he's the X factor. I got Duke coming out on top in one of the greatest games this entire tournament. Duke moving on to the final.
And for me, matchup of the Blue Buds. Two of the biggest teams in college basketball ever. And they both wear blue. Duke, Kentucky. It's a classic matchup. Duke wins. Duke has a star power. If Flag comes back, Duke wins it all.
A little throwback to beginning of the year. Duke did lose to Kentucky very early on in the season, but that doesn't matter because we both have Duke in this game.
Duke, baby.
Now, moving on to the other side of the bracket, my Final Four matchup. Auburn, Florida. man, this is going to be, again, I don't know who to pick. I'm basically going off regular season. Auburn lost to Florida. Florida's the hot team right now. I got Florida moving on against Duke in the championship.
And I got a completely different Final Four matchup right here. Michigan versus St. John's. We got the blue and then the red. Michigan has always been a great team. They always show out in March Madness. But guess what? They don't make a championship game. They don't win the championship. They might have made it once, but they're not going to win it. Again, I can't remember if they won it last time or not. But St. John's is... Can you go against Rick Pitino
Rick
at
Pitino
all?
on that stage.
Hard to go against the Rick.
So you have St. John's moving on to the championship.
St. John's.
Okay. Now, championship game. San Antonio, like we said before. I have Florida, Duke. I think the two most well-rounded teams in the entire bracket. I think that's what this game comes down to. That's what leads these two teams here. But, again, I'm not picking against Cooper Flag and the Duke Blue Devils. Again, Duke is just on a different level. I think no matter what happens, this game will be closer than imaginable. But I think Duke finally gets over the hump. This is their year. I got Duke winning it all. Brogan?
Yeah, I think the St. John's Cinderella story ends here. I know 2 seed doesn't sound like a Cinderella story, but I do think this team has grown tremendously. This is not where they ever thought they would be, but I got to do with the greatest team to ever grace the court, Duke.
That is a strong take.
Greatest team of all time.
Of all time.
Not this year. This
Yes,
isn't
okay.
their greatest team ever.
Okay.
Greatest college basketball school ever.
All right. It's been a long episode. Thank y'all all for watching. That's all we have for today's podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please leave a like and comment your thoughts. Was our brackets correct? Did we get something completely wrong? Let us know down below.
We'll find out tomorrow.
Thanks for watching.
Hindsight's got the view. Hot takes cutting through.